So this concept of burying the lead is very important. This comes up in the book in the context of the way we write as scientists, which puts the main message at the end, even though there is an abstract, as opposed to newspaper writer or a journalist who would put the bottom line message at the top. Okay. So I love this story because here the media kind of lost the handle of the situation. So let's just read it a little bit. The Cold War ushered in a time of secrecy and willing media cooperation to keep those stories secret. Okay, so the media itself was deliberately trying to bury the leads, let's say. But even after winning that war, the value of the vault of secrets remains firmly locked, especially surrounding JFK's murder, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s murder, right? Even for those who fundamentally oppose the current presidential administration, notions of a national security state and of fake news must be examined to maintain functional democracy. So this is going into some details where media can be manipulated, or the post-expert digital age can be used to introduce deliberate fake news in the name of national security, or a legitimate story can be attacked by the administration as being dangerous for national security. So there is attempts to bury the lead, and there is attempts to create conditions that say you should bury the lead. Okay, lead gets exposed and then there is attacks on it. So this book explains, explains the rapid decline in confidence in the government that started after the assassination of JFK. Jumping here, almost 4 million pages of documents were released after Oliver Stone made his movie and suggested some conspiracies and so on. He's really a good filmmaker. The JFK Act stated that all files must be released by October 27, yet thousands are still withheld on the grounds of national security. So courts can order something, but the government machinery can say that's not safe to be released, or even when they release, it will be redacted so much that loss of the information will not make any sense. Okay. So President Kennedy declared on October 1963 that men who create power make an indispensable contribution to a nation's greatness, but the men who question the power make a contribution just as indispensable, especially when they are disinterested, for they determine whether we use power or power uses us. Why is it relevant? Because if we go to the story of smoking, for example, or global warming, and how the industry ran a campaign to create misinformation, you can see internal documents. This is Exxon's private prediction of future growth of carbon dioxide levels and global temperature relative to 1982. Just like the smoking damage to health from smoking was known, and they deliberately hid it and created campaigns to suggest that it was not dangerous. Similar effort occurred under fossil fuel burning and its impacts as well. So this is fossil fuel company's own internal document which talked about the future warming from 1982 onwards and atmospheric carbon dioxide increase. Okay, and then they decided that this was not good for business. So here are some steps from the Harvard report down here. How the fossil fuel industry polluted the information landscape. Key points. Internal corporate documents show that fossil fuel industry has known about the reality of human-caused climate change for decades. Its response was to actively orchestrate and fund denial and disinformation so as to stifle action and protect its status quo business operations. As the scientific consensus on climate change emerged and strengthened, the industry and its political allies attacked the consensus and exaggerated uncertainties. Very smart moves for their own business. Fossil fuel industry offered no consistent alternative explanation for why climate was changing. The goal was merely to undermine support for action. They did not want restrictions on their own business and sales. The strategy, tactics, infrastructure, and rhetorical arguments and techniques used by fossil fuel interests to challenge the scientific evidence of climate change, including cherry-picking, fake experts, conspiracy theories, comes straight out of the tobacco industry's playbook for delaying tobacco control. These key points reflect the position of experts studying the climate denial and history of fossil fuel interest. Essential truth about climate change in 10 words. The basic facts of climate change is something they produce things that look very legitimate. So if you're trying to get into climate change science communication, it's very possible that you will get attacked. I gave a short blurb on NBC News about cyclones, and that was picked up and used in the alternate media to attack climate change science. So you have to be ready for such attacks when you get into the climate change science communication effort. So there is the idea of being prepared, using stories, metaphors, having the fundamental knowledge, people's perceptions, preconceived notions, echo chambers, etc. Then you might get heavy attacks from rich parties like the fossil fuel companies. And there are examples of this. People like Mike Mann got attacked by Attorney General of a conservative state, and he moved to Pennsylvania, not for that reason, but he has written books on his experience. So climate science now is a very big part of the political football, as I said. So just doing climate science, remaining quiet, is not considered a good choice by many. But if you're a climate change scientist and you are trying to get into debates which cross into the political arena, then you have to have solid philosophical core principles that tell you what is okay and what is not okay. Science is done in a value framework, so we cannot always claim we are completely objective in a way we present the views. The science is solid, it's well reviewed, it's reproducible, it's accurate, precise, and so on. But how do you present it? How do your own values affect your own message? It gets a little tricky there, but we have to be aware and we have to be prepared to defend it, because we should always come from a solid perspective of being the planet's doctors and giving advice.